Hey everyone, welcome back to the Headway Podcast. I'm Shane, your host, and with me is co-host Rachel.
Hey everyone! Last time we discussed the topic of returning to driving. Today we are discussing the important topic of feeling low and anxious.
It's true what they say, everyone experiences periods of sadness or feeling low at some point in their life. But for those who experience a brain injury, this can come about suddenly and can be amplified by the symptoms of a brain injury such as potential loss of independence, mobility and a loss of confidence.
In previous episodes we discussed the impact of a brain injury can have on mood swings and irritability. Some of our clients describe feeling frustrated and angry, but for others, the changes in their mood can mean feeling down in themselves and worried about their futures. If any of our listeners are feeling this way, please know that you are not alone and that there is support out there for you.
Feeling low after a brain injury is natural and can be caused by a number of factors such as changes in the brain directly caused by the injury, emotional reaction to the injury itself, psychological changes after the injury, and sometimes even reasons unrelated to the injury itself, such as life events.
Today we're joined by three incredible guests who are going to discuss their experiences with feeling low and anxious. Let's meet them.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I had a brain tumour discovered in 2021. I was in the National Rehab Hospital for a period of time and they referred me to Headway, of which I'm very grateful for, as I've taken up a lot of you guys' time at different things. So yeah, that's me.
Fantastic. I'm Josephine, and yes, I'd had 2 brain aneurysms released, and that was about 9 years ago. And Headway's been part of my life since then, and will be part of my life forever.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I suffered a TBI when I fainted at work almost 3 years ago, and I cracked my head off the ground, then they put me in a coma for a month for the swelling to go down, but when it came time to wake up, I didn't wake up for another 4 months. So eventually when I did wake up, they kept me for another month or 2 until it was time for me to go to the NIH, and I spent another 7 months there learning how to walk, eat, talk, how to live again really. And now I'm tied into Headway and ABII to get things back on track.
Now that we have met our 3 incredible guests for today, let's hear from them about their experiences of feeling low and anxious.
God, the effect on my mood, the biggest effect it has or had and has ongoing is on my confidence. So I suppose in a bad mood and going into no or low confidence, that was the biggest thing. Following this, all happened very quickly. I went for an eye test on a Friday and 10 days later was having brain surgery, so it was all fairly quick. But the biggest effect, I was still making jokes with my brain surgeon the day before about going back to work and kind of my day-to-day things. And then when I woke up, well, I suppose I was probably fairly highly drugged when I woke up, but even when that wore off, the effect it had on my mood and confidence scared the hell out of me and continues to do so, to be fair. But I would have been quite, well, I wouldn't call myself confidence, but looking back, I didn't know what that word meant until all this happened. I was scared to go in and order a cup of coffee anywhere or talk to anyone. I have third nerve palsy, which affects my left eye. So that certainly is kind of part of it. And even now, I feel like I can hide away from everything that's happened, but it's kind of a giveaway of something. Not everyone would understand what it is, but it's a giveaway that something has happened. And even days where I'm feeling fine, I might be in a cafe or something like that, and someone might hand me a handkerchief or something and just say, "Oh, would you clean your glasses?" So I have kind of a block on my glasses, which kind of looks like a fogged effect. And even though nobody does that to be mean, like it's out of kindness, but then I get really awkward about it, and that'll kind of, I feel, put down in a way. But as I said, I was the person that would organise the holiday, would drive us to the holiday, would ask for, are we getting a free side with that? Are we doing anything? You know what I mean? I'd always chance my arm. And not that I didn't understand that other people were, more conscious or more anxious about things. I got it, but I didn't experience it. So this kind of new me, I remember my sister kind of making me go out. I didn't want to leave the house and making me go for a coffee or something, which probably fed her habit more than mine. But I remember her not being there one day, and she kind of bullied my dad into taking me for a coffee, and the two of us went for coffee, and it was still the case of wearing masks. And then I wasn't used to wearing glasses all the time, so my both eyes would fog up, and then it'd be really awkward, or people looking at me. And I remember saying to my dad, sitting in an insomnia cafe, that it looks like we're actually going through a breakup, because the two of us were sitting there bawling, crying. I was really awkward. He was sad seeing me so sad. And I was like, Dad, if I was looking at us, like, you'd say we're going through a dodgy breakup. This is highly entertaining. But, you know, and it's one of those things as well with sunglasses. So I don't know about anybody else, but I remember seeing people wearing sunglasses inside and going, who do they think they are? You know what I mean?
What's
look at
the problem there?
You look at
yeah.
look at the state of them. You know what I mean? And I still think 90% of them still is kind of probably, they think they look great, whatever. And then suddenly I was that person, because I was hiding behind. My eyes were so conscious. My eye was completely closed for 10, 12 weeks. And then slowly it did start to open, but my focus never went back to normal. But so I wore the sunglasses, and still do. And I said to myself, never, ever judge anybody for wearing sunglasses inside. And that probably goes along with other things as well. But I just said, you have absolutely no idea what anyone's going through, or what anything is.
Wearing their shoes.
Yeah,
Walking
exactly.
in their shoes.
Anything. Yeah.
Thank you.
Walking in their shoes. It's like, I feel in a way like a new person. That's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. Some days I feel I have a bit of not quite sure who I am anymore. And I'm trying to take the positives with that. But it can be really, really hard. You have a bit of an identity crisis. Maybe it's just I'm getting older and I'd be having that anyway. But maybe it's just sped
Once you
on.
accept a new you, you're going to
That's
be very,
what's
very happy.
really hard, accepting the kind of new you. And the effect the brain injury has on you, I can't even explain it. It's so vast, and some days are really good and you try and hang on to those days, and some days are bad. And I think what I learned a lot with Headway, and one of the course I did, was it's okay to feel bad. I think sometimes I used to feel awful and then get angry at myself, when you're an idiot, and then other people have it worse, and then you're comparing. You just go down kind of a dark hole, and then people want you to feel better, and they mean well, say, oh no, you'll feel better, or do this and you'll feel better. And I remember one of the Headway girls going, oh no, you can feel absolutely crap, like what you've been through is horrendous, and I went, oh, okay, yeah, do you know what, it's absolute nonsense, it's horrible, why did it happen?
You're in control of it.
Yeah, and that was a huge thing. And just I said to one of the therapists before, I was like, no offense and all your training and everything, and you mean really well and you helped me, but you also don't get, you don't have first kind of hand knowledge. So I'm just so grateful for the people I've met here, younger, my age, older, everything. And just like, if I could sum it up, they get it. They just get it. And that in itself is really nice and can help with your mood and that type of thing. But I think the one thing is, does it affect your mood? Absolutely. Does it affect your mood negatively? Absolutely. Is it going to be okay? Absolutely. Talk to somebody or go for a walk. Before, I wouldn't have gone for coffee by myself. And it was one of my things in Headway that I had to, not Headway, in the rehab hospital one day, go have coffee by yourself. And at the start, when I went in there, couldn't go and ask for a cup of coffee anywhere. And by the end, and to this day, which is 2 years later, I absolutely love going for coffee by myself and just kind of people watch and just take that time for me and ignore my phone. And it's something I'm grateful for, because when they say you don't know what's around the corner, you do not know what's around the corner. And I think acceptance
Wonderful.
is an absolutely huge thing.
Wonderful feeling.
It is a wonderful feeling.
And life throws you a curveball sometimes.
Oh yeah, there's nothing quite like, an orange-sized brain tumour to throw a curveball at you. I was, slagged in work, kind of going, oh lads, I obviously wasn't getting enough attention. Typical me, I go in all dramatic. I'm like, a common cold won't do me. I have to do, the whole brain tumour thing. So I said, I'm You know, if the dramatic's out of me, I don't want to be centre of attention anymore. So, you know, I think even now being able to laugh about it in a nice way, you know, is a huge thing. And, you know, I've said to people in work that, and it's only something I'm slowly trying to get back to, you know, oh lads, don't push me, I'll use the brain tumour card, you know, and they kind of laugh going, oh, I wasn't going to say anything, you know, and
Back away from
yeah, exactly. But, you know, being able to kind of take the positives and hopefully help others with it, because I think that was my biggest thing, is I'm like, no, even if your friends and family mean well, they don't get it. And so being able to talk to people who just get it. And again, you could be talking about anything, you're talking about the news, God forbid, or, you know, anything. You don't have to be talking about what's happening in your head, but just talking generally and kind of being able to relate to somebody is really, really nice. I'm very grateful for that.
Our next guest today is Daniel.
Hey, so hello, I'm Daniel, and a brain injury will certainly take you down a long, anxious road, and you can feel quite alone sometimes, but things most of the time will get better, and you can just surround yourself with your friends and family mostly, and try to see the light in things in your life. And even just being on this planet is enough to keep you happy. I remember there was one time in the NRH I was sitting there just having my lunch, and I looked up at the whiteboard in my room and I saw it was April, and I realised it was going to be my birthday next month. So that went down a rabbit hole of pure despair. So I was going to have my birthday in there. And I burst down into tears and looked at my speech and language therapist was walking by and saw me. She came in and talked me out of the hole. And it's going to be alright. And it also happened in Baldwin. So I was sitting somewhere down in the hospital. And I just decided it was my birthday that day for whatever reason. And also the lady again saw me and was like, what's in, okay? And she also spent half an hour talking to me, pulled me out of despair. And they felt the best way to deal with it is just surround yourself with friends and family. Talk to the person who makes you feel good. Don't let the anxiety monster get you.
You said about your birthday. I always think about that because I think that's something, isn't it? You'll think of the last year or the last few years or anything, and obviously you went on a long journey, to say the least, so that's completely understandable.
Down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. And then for, you know, one of the therapists maybe you said talked to you and kind of brought you around.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the point, whether you're talking to kind of a therapist or, and I'm not taking away from family and friends, but somebody here who kind of gets that and understands that.
Mm-hmm.
I always say I had a really good 30th and I had a big party, and you know, I look back at the photos and kind of don't nearly recognise myself at all. And then I think COVID took from all of us.
I like to say I'm only 26 because COVID and my accident of 4 years, I don't count it.
Yeah. Exactly, COVID, and then I feel nearly at the end of COVID this happened to me, so I feel completely robbed.
Yep.
And that's really hard. So I guess I'm nearly the opposite to you. On a Friday I was fine and 10 days later having surgery, whereas you obviously had a fall and then this whole section.
Just woke up after a bunch of crazy dreams.
Yeah.
Absolute madness.
Absolute madness.
You're feeling alright, buddy?
You can definitely claim that one for a while.
Yeah. Play the brain injury card.
Yeah.
It might be arsenal forever.
Yeah. At least you do have, I think you mentioned family and friends, so I think that's really important, and that's something I have tried not to take for granted, because I think of other people that aren't that fortunate or don't talk as much perhaps. And I know, you know, you'd get text messages off people and then I feel that I'd have to write back, and I wouldn't either be able to at the start because what I wrote down on my phone and what I was thinking I was writing were two completely separate things. Kind of learning again, but it is nice to kind of have that support around you.
Good. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when you think of the people that have nobody.
Yeah.
I remember in the
It's
hospital,
very frightening.
there's a guy in the room next to me, but he's from Galway,
Mm-hmm.
so his parents were quite far away and nobody came to visit him.
Yeah.
As I had people every day.
I remember that. I didn't mix with too many people in rehab. There was a girl later on who I really did, and she was amazing. It was amazing girl, but there was two guys and no one visited them. one about a few years older than me and one a few years younger than me. And I remember thinking that was really tough, really sad. They kind of made friends with each other. I think they were a bad influence on each other, but in a way that was nice, you know, because exactly. Remind me of the bold lads in school, like, but in a nice, you know, in a nice way that they had each other, because that's really, really tough.
It is. I remember that one time I was waiting for an ultrasound in the hospital, and I was talking to a lady whose son was there, because he was just cycling home and he looked down at his phone to change the song on his iPod, or whatever, and then he cycled into a lamppost and broke his neck and hit his head as well. So he was paralysed and not doing very well.
Yeah.
I mean, put in perspective how lucky I got.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well, because anytime I felt really down, which was a lot, then I nearly, that's the way, you should look, you know, I was blessed to be there, rather than I compare myself and say, why are you giving out? Like, why are you moaning? You have nothing to moan about, you know, someone else is in a worse position, then I'd feel way bad for that. And then it's just kind of, you just keep digging that hole. Down that rabbit hole. We all know it very well. We probably met each other down there a few times.
Sleep that nice in the
yeah. And then, so I think there's three elements, isn't it? Like the therapists who are trying to deal with it, your family and friends who are trying to support you, and then your comrades, perhaps, you know, that just understand and get it. And it can take a long time to talk about it, because I was like, I'm fine, what's wrong, you know, and it's just that kind of self-hate, and you're, you know, stupid, and you're this, that, and it's a tough place.
You get lost in limbo.
Yeah,
50,
and it's
50, yeah.
a really tough place to be, and it can be a really, really dark place and really, really sad. But I think if you can talk about it, or you can, you know, reach out to the Headway or you know, the likes of that, and just try and talk about it.
It's like that strange time in between Christmas and New Year's Eve. Nobody knows what's going on.
That's actually that's not a bad place, or not a bad comparison at all. Big time.
And our next guest today is Josephine.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Josephine, and as I said earlier on, I had 2 brain aneurysms, and I was so grateful that they found them. I got both of them clipped 6 months apart, which made me very happy. But about 40 years previously before that, my mother had one, and they couldn't find out what it was. I was in the old Richmond hospital, and it was an American doctor, and my mum's face and eye was just shut completely. But he went in and he did it, and he released it, and she lived for another 25 years after that. So coping with the feeling that you could inherit an aneurysm, I got very anxious because my children then had to be tested. And when I got anxious, I was afraid to go to sleep. I didn't think I was going to wake up. And Baldwin Hospital gave me a slip one day, and it was to go and see Headways. And the minute I went to see Headways, they opened up my life completely. Unbelievably. To let you know that things was going to be okay. To turn you into the person that you can accept who you are. And the people that want to be in your life, you can communicate with. And it was my 4 beautiful children. And my lovely husband. And I look back on it, it feels only like yesterday. And they've given me an enormous amount of confidence about it. Because once you can open yourself up and start talking to people about what you're feeling inside, you will definitely cope an awful lot better. Now, there is an odd day and an odd day you can turn off. And you say to yourself, look, I'm just fine, leave me alone. I'm reading, yeah, okay, just back away. And then the stage you're bubbling with joy because you want to produce and give your friendliness and your confidence to your colleagues, your family, and the people around you. But please, once you accept who you are and accept what's after happening, you will be able to cope with it. And we look back on ourselves and we say, why me? Why me? Why is this? And yes, the people we meet along the way, and sometimes we see them as children, and sometimes we see them 100%, more affected by the brain injuries than you are. And my grandmother's words came true. Always turn the other side of the coin and you will see what other people are trying to accept. Be grateful that you have the feelings, the understanding, and the people around you. And I've done that. And I just feel absolutely wonderful with it. It's great to accept that people are out there to save us. We're going to go on living. We might be going on living differently, but it's still good. We can talk, see, hear. I look at the other people that can't even do that. I look at it happening to children and they don't know why it's happening to them. And what can we do? We sit, we learn with them, cope with them, and just put it back into society. And by the way, that's Headways. Forever and ever. Thank you.
I always think that Josephine should be the poster child for Headways, and you need to get your contract up and get it signed.
I did a sort of, what would you say, a patrol around Smithfield. And there was a lovely guy, he was about 6'4", and he was Polish, and he was here working as labour. And he fell off the building site, and he had a walking stick, and his English and with his speech impediment was quite bad. So we went out Headways and we were carrying this microphone and we were asking people, what do you think of a person's appearance when they have an injury? Is it a stroke appearance? Some people didn't want to know. And because I was holding the mic and helping, I can't even think of his name, but he was a great guy, he walked behind me and within 6 weeks he could speak perfect English. Because I just gave him that eye contact, I told him to get on with it. That was it.
Yeah.
Please, it's just coping with people, understanding them. And nobody needs anything false in their life. When you're getting told it will improve, you've got to prove. There is no other way out of that.
No.
Medical system is there. They've done what they can and they will continue. But you've got to prove the other part.
You do, but I think you have to give yourself time.
Yes.
Because that's really hard. I remember couple of days after surgery, one of the nurses or young doctors bring me down and doing some sort of, I tell you something, say it back to me. I'm like, how ridiculous. And she says it and I have no clue what she's just said, and that was terrifying because that's not me, So I'm not even saying the few days after surgery, but I think that, yes, if someone says, you work hard and you'll get something back, you'll get something new, you need to give yourself time and forgive yourself for that and talk about it and say you're struggling. I think the word that I have circled here that you said a few times, just acceptance.
It is.
And that, I think it's an ongoing struggle. I still absolutely struggle. So it's not like one day I woke up and said, okay, but I did wake up and say, okay, today I'll do this or today I'll do that. But acceptance is a really strong, tough word. And I think what's also important, you said your kids first and your husband second. So once he knows where he where he stands in that.
And yes, he's passed 6 years this year now, and we had to deal with cancer through this episode of my life for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I've lost 2 brothers and I've lost a sister-in-law. And I look around the world and I've travelled. I remember saying to the doctor out in Beaumont Hospital, is it okay that we can travel, And my husband said to me, she has these clips in the head now, she won't go beep beep in the airport. And I'm looking at my husband and say, is he trying to make a laugh out of this? But the doctor said, of course she's okay, she can go and live her life. Right, we're going on a holiday. And that was great. But you're still conscious, you're on a plane, if you're on a plane for 2 hours, even an hour, you're saying to yourself, am I going to be okay?
Yeah.
And I proved it. And yes, I was okay.
Yeah.
And I took Vegas back in and I took New York back in.
I've taken Vegas.
Just go.
I had to put off because of COVID. I had a surprise trip to Chicago for my other half, and I only told him when we were supposed to go. I said, oh, your 40th was almost a really good present, but here's what you could have had. And then I had planned to try and do it again in the future, and then I got sick, so that didn't happen. And then that was one of the things I wanted to do when I got a bit better, and it took me a while because I'd be really good at organising and, booking reservations here, there. But that's one of the things that I've seriously been affected with, kind of anxiety. Oh, what if I can't get the restaurant? Or what if I pick the wrong one? And what if I can't do it? Which just to me would have been nonsense before. But I did it for last June. And then I got the news that I had to, what was left of my tumour was regrowing, so I had to go for a course of radiation. And I said, did I have a trip booked? And I remember the radiologist going, oh, well, look, once it's not kind of, Thailand or America, it should be fine. And I'm thinking because I think it was just the level of care in America, being charged 100 grand for a blood test or something. So I put it off a few. I was like, oh, look, it's one flight, I'll be grand. So I said to my other half, I was like, look, if anything happens, either push me into the Hudson and I'll go out happy, or just roll me onto the plane and get me back. So we went, and it was great.
Don't be foolish, you can't do that. That's no.
But I did. I went, and it was great, and I was happy that I did it for him, but I also did it for myself, because it was something that I could prove that I could organise it and have a good time. And yes, I've some, dodgy glasses with a shade, but I'll make it my own in time, and I'm all right.
To accept that
there's
been an injury there.
Yeah.
It's healing, and we have to live with what the injury is.
Yeah, I think that could be the hardest.
It's hard, but I'm happy the way it's going. Because every time I look back, I have improved this past 5 years. I've improved since last year. I've improved since 9 years ago. And to be informed after 40 years that it's hereditary, I never knew that. And that knocked me back a lot. Because my 4 children have to receive MRI scans every 5 years.
Well, I think that your biggest worry there were your kids.
Better believe it.
But I suppose knowledge is key, isn't it? So if they're,
It was great for the
every
guy to turn around and
5
tell me
years.
that.
I think my tumour, and I said why, it was like, look, it's inherited in a way that it's unfortunate, because you've 10 million cells from mom and 10 million cells from dad. So, it's just unfortunate. And I said, oh, sure, I'm always the run to the litter. So I said, sorry, doc, are you telling me, it's my parents I have to sue? And he just started laughing. He's like, oh, give it a go. So, it is what it is. But as I said, acceptance.
It was wonderful to have the knowledge of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was very grateful about that one, the knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what the medical system can do and what they're finding out.
Yeah.
And I know everybody likes to have hope, keep on going, stay strong and accept.
I think my dad's allergic to general anaesthetic, or the normal one, whatever they gave, so that we were tested as kids and we're absolutely fine in relationship. But I think that knowledge and being able to test, and if your kids have to be checked every 5 years, then so be it, But yeah, knowledge and acceptance. I think I'll put an acceptance sign on my wall.
If not, why not?
Yeah.
Go for it. It's wonderful, and sitting here speaking about it and looking at the people that have helped us along the way, it's a golden star that I feel inside me for this, would I say organisation? I don't know what way to call it, but I call it Headways, and I call them brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
That they're there to help anybody that wants help and needs help.
Yeah.
And it's just wonderful. And I hope this can go on in every county of Ireland. And when I look back on the people that even travel from the country, it could be once a month just to come up to Dublin, to come in and sit around. I used to call this nights at the round table. And we'd be laughing, joking, but that day was so important to them. Getting on a train and to come to Dublin. And I've always said if I get 6 numbers, Headway's getting the money. There's no question about that.
Oh, well, it's official now, because this is
you better believe it. Yeah. Be no problem.
Yeah.
And my 2 lovely surgeons that looked after him. It's amazing when you're looking at a surgeon and he's telling you, this is good now, you can go and live your life, do this. It's like, go skydive. I said, live your life. You're not listening to me.
Mm-hmm.
At first, he said to me, you have an awful lot of knowledge about me. So yes, you're going into my brain. And he said, it's wonderful, he said, but if I could use the Peter 7 days a week, I would use it. He's only allowed 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at that, and that's a man that has a private practice, but still willing to go into a public hospital and to save people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I will always be grateful for it. Always.
As we wrap up this insightful discussion, let's hear a final word from each of our guests.
Don't take things for granted. Anything in your life, no matter how small or insignificant it is, take full advantage of everything that you have going for you.
Family members, the advice that I would have to give to them, which I gave to my children, was please understand and not to feel guilty about it and upset and worried constantly. Talk to me and I'll talk back to you and we'll join together and we'll go through that journey. So please never isolate in any conversation that you want to have with people. Please do speak out. It'll help the anxiety.
Give yourself time, and that, I'm not saying there's an end to that, and as Josephine said, it's a journey, and it's a journey I think we're all on, and it doesn't matter if you're on it 6 months, 6 years, 60 years. And I've learned that from people in this organisation. You know, it's not a case of, okay, 12 months, well done, you're on the next chapter. It might have taken you 12 months or several years to even get here in the first instance. So give yourself time and don't beat yourself up. It'll be a new you, and with any luck, it'll be a better you. So give yourself time and give yourself a break.
And blow away anxiety and stress. It's not part of our lives anymore. Please stay positive.
And that brings us to the end of today's discussion of feeling low and anxious. We hope that today's discussion will bring comfort and hope to anyone listening today who can resonate with our guest stories.
Definitely, Shane. We hope that anyone out there listening to this episode will gain comfort in knowing that they're not alone in how they are feeling, and will be encouraged to reach out and seek support from friends, family, medical professionals, mental health services, and of course, Headway. And as always, a big thank you to our amazing guests for sharing their stories and shedding light on the journey of feeling low and anxious.
And of course, thank you to our listeners for joining us on this episode.
If you found today's episode resonating with you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We have more compelling topics lined up for future episodes.
And don't forget to connect with us on social media to share your thoughts, any questions you have, and experiences in relation to feeling low and anxious after a brain injury.
Join us next week as we tackle another important topic of coping strategies for life after a brain injury. Until then, take care, stay curious, and keep exploring the many facets of life after a brain injury here on the Headway Podcast.